Hi everyone, I'm Molly Schwemler, and I've really enjoyed kind of delving into creativity and creative work through this course and with everybody. Um, so to start us off and to kind of follow a current TikTok trend, sort of, one thing about me is that I have always wanted to write a book or many books, but it's a lot easier to find excuses for not doing something rather than finding time or building in the time to give something new a try, at least for me anyway. So even though that's something I've always wanted to do, and I've written some short fiction, some poetry, short stories before, a lot of college essays. I've never actually really found the time to sit down and think about writing a real novel or book. I've always been a huge reader. I one of my majors in college was English, so it's something I love, and I've heard a lot of people too say, if you can't find the book that you want to read, why don't you just write it? So for me, it's just something I've always wanted to do and just haven't gotten around to it. When we started talking about this final project and thinking of ways to combine or explore what we've been learning through the course with the final project, I knew that writing or a writing exercise, in particular a fiction writing exercise, would be kind of how I wanted to approach the project and kind of how I wanted to apply some of the techniques and the theories and the different things that we've been learning about, because I've talked about it plenty on our discussion boards, but I do write quite a lot for work. I write social media, video scripts, emails recognizing special days like American Education Week, just quite a lot of that kind of communication. So I do write a lot. I just don't write as much fiction really at all anymore. So I knew that that was something that I was personally interested in and invested in, and a way for me to kind of explore what we've been talking about, and find something that I also find joy in. I thought this kind of approach to the project as well works with what we've been learning too, because my personal investment and interest in this clearly has intrinsic motivation. I like to write. I enjoy it. It's something that I don't feel I get to do enough of in this manner, at least. So it's something that I just personally am invested in. So I get to kind of test out that exploration of motivation there, as well as obviously there's the extrinsic factor of it's for a course and I'd like to finish out the course and the project, and obviously would love to get a good grade as well. So there are the two different pieces of motivation that we've been studying and looking at, and how I can explore them in through this project. So as far as what the project actually looked like to approach kind of sitting down to write a novel while applying what we've been learning through the course, I was really influenced by a couple elements here. So I already talked about the Emma Bill's motivation piece, but I also was very interested in exploring the stage models of creative cognition, the 4 F's of flow, and exercise and stress, really kind of on impacting creative work or creativity. Before this course, I typically thought of creativity as when the mood strikes a person. Like if I was daydreaming or just had a kind of a snap of insight, inspiration, then that's when I should write, and good luck, wait for that to come up again. I didn't really think of it as something that you could work on and build, enhance those skills, or kind of forced to happen, but forced in a more natural way, just giving yourself the time and space to be creative, and really build that ability rather than pushing through writing when it's not working or waiting for that moment of insight. So I felt like I've lived in those kinds of extremes before this course, and then through this exercise been able to more meet in the middle. How can I enhance and make sure I'm working creatively, even if I'm not quite in a creative mode or mood? So I don't want to wait around for that flash of insight, but also how do I make it so it's not an absolute chore to come up with the words and the writing? And how do I make it more consistent? So that's what this was really like looking at for me and testing out for me. So as far as like how to actually set up and approach the project and combine what we've been learning with the writing piece, basically what I set up is a writing schedule that would incorporate those different elements: exercise, meditation, stage models of creative cognition, 4 F's of flow, and motivation that I already talked about. I think I was a little overambitious in what I initially set down as my goals, to be able to write in kind of the time span that we have. But essentially, I had looked at kind of getting down an outline, which I was able to do, writing, I think I said 3 or 4 chapters. That didn't quite happen, but I was able to do the prologue and a couple chapters. I also stated that I wanted to do an inspiration board as well. As part of that schedule, then I had weekly writing sessions, where I would incorporate the stage models of creative cognition and the exercise piece by first sitting down to either physically write out or jot down some outline elements, for either one of the prologue or the chapter, or just the book as a whole. But then before going into like actually sitting on my computer, typing, writing it out, I then would go on a 30-minute walk. Sometimes just me and my dog, sometimes just me, sometimes me and my husband. If I couldn't walk outside because it was raining or just poor weather in Pennsylvania or wherever I was, instead I'd do some meditation, or some yoga, to kind of still give myself that break piece so that I wasn't just moving right through the thinking directly into the writing, but giving myself that incubation and that insight part of the creative process as well. I did also have different writing goals. So each writing session, I tried to write over at least 1,000 words. Some nights this didn't happen, not because I didn't follow that creative process, but just I got a call from my boss, or my parents needed me for something, my sister, whoever it might be, but it's a regular part of life. But still having moments to myself and trying to not be distracted. And I did have those nights as well. What I also found really interesting was that even though this process, it definitely helped me have a better flow as I was working, I was able to get more words down. This is the furthest I've ever gotten in actually outlining and planning for a story, not just having kind of discrete scenes or a character that I think would be really fun, but actually having different plot points and things that I wanted to achieve. Even on the nights where that maybe wasn't quite working, or like the words weren't coming to me, I was able to think of different creative approaches that I wanted to apply. So then I was able to instead pivot to something else. So then that night I would do add more pins to my Pinterest inspiration board for the novel, which would help keep me enjoying the process and being excited about it. One night I went on a walk. I went to Spotify, picked a walking playlist that I really enjoy. And that kind of instead sparked, oh, well, what if I made a Spotify playlist for the book so that I could have that on while I was writing, and maybe that will help keep me immersed and, again, just kind of help with flow. It was a great exercise and something I really enjoyed, not part of my initial scope for the project, but again, just kind of, I guess, another way to engage my senses for this process. That I feel like worked out really well. It was interesting too, because some of the nights where I had planned in the schedule that some nights I wouldn't follow any of that process. I wouldn't engage with the exercise or the stage models of creative cognition. Kind of wouldn't have that 4 F's of flow mindset going into it. You can't really take out the motivation because this was still part of a project and still something I'm interested in, but kind of stripping away all the other elements and just trying to force myself to sit down and write. And I thought that I would have a much harder time not following those different strategies. I did to some degree, but not as much as I thought. I think it really proved to me that even on nights when I wasn't incorporating all those pieces, having done it before and having had that work more consistently in my practice of writing, it helped me on the other nights too. I didn't feel quite as stuck, or I felt like, okay, well, that's not working. Let me maybe add to the character list. Let me just kind of design what a setting would be like for a certain chapter, or pull out a plot point, or maybe the writing's not coming, so I'll go look at some movies and stories that I love that are sort of related to this story, and remember what I love so much about them. So I felt like overall, on the whole, incorporating the different creative processes helped me even when I wasn't doing so quite as directly as on other nights, which I really enjoyed seeing. And again, I'm hoping continues and I'm able to really grow that and keep using it as I hopefully pursue this beyond the class. So I guess the last thing to kind of talk about would be the book. So any fans of The Mummy, Indiana Jones, kind of The Librarian, basically fun, low level danger, but danger, adventure, rom-com type stories. That's what I wanted to write. It's the first idea that came to my head. So I was really excited about it. And the other major I had in college was history. So I studied a lot of history in England in about 1300s to 1700. I just really liked it. I really enjoyed studying that time period. So one of the things that I studied a lot was the dissolution of the monasteries in England, different acts under different kings. There's one in particular that I studied with, the lost treasure of bad King John. But at one point in history, pretty close to his death, he was traveling with his baggage train, which historians and historical legend has asserted contained crown jewels, various valuables, while he was traveling. So he and his kind of army baggage train were traveling through the Wash in England, which, if you think of it, is kind of like a marshy, kind of swampy area. The tide can come in. It's still dangerous to trek through, but they were using that as not really a shortcut, but as an avenue to make their way forward. The baggage train was washed away. And so treasure hunters, historians, that kind of thing, archaeologists, they've been searching for that treasure. It hasn't been found yet. Some people do think that they found it or they're getting close. But as far as I know, still has yet to be found or recovered. So that's kind of what this story is centered on. It's about a woman who is a professional historian and almost little national treasury. She maybe grew up hearing some elements of this story, this legend. And so she studied that in her professional work and thinks that she has an idea of what may have actually occurred and happened to this treasure. And she'd like the funding and the resources to go find it. So it's going to follow her adventure, bad guys, good guys, teaming up with people to recover that treasure. So really want it to be fun and lighthearted, but have some of those elements of danger and mystery and clues and things like that there. So that's kind of a simple basic overview. And in the creativity map that I have here, hopefully you'll take a look at the inspiration board, turn on the Spotify playlist and check out the sample, the prologue that I attached, and I hope you enjoy it.